When Bally Midway was in the midst of dethroning Atari in the arcade scene, it was 1982, and Pac-Man, Missile Command, and a newfound champion, Dig Dug, was king. Don't get me wrong, Miss Pac-Man and Galaga were also fairly supreme, but there came a newcomer to the scene that was based upon a movie that did okay. Earning itself almost $50 million in 1982 and costing about $17 million to make, TRON was a movie put out by Disney that seemed to be another adequate entry into the live-action department. 40 years later, the original TRON movie still holds some pretty special memories to me, particularly because of the incredible arcade game that came from it. Less than Disney, Bally Midway didn't exactly have a huge budget to work with to create this masterpiece of arcade glory, but Arcade 1-Up did something I never thought possible. In fact, they did a lot of the impossible to an 80s kid. It gave you a piece of history and nostalgia to place in your home or office. A dream of light cycles and disc wars, pili and light tanks. Welcome to episode 2 of Outrunning the Neon Sun. TRON, to me, even more so than the new Dragon's Lair cabinet from Arcade 1-Up, is truly inspirational. It's a complete homage to the nostalgia, a huge blessing to be able to own one and have one at my fingertips. I have them located at my office because I don't want to overplay them and get tired of them. So about 2 or 3 times a week, I'm able to go out into my office, walk away from the rat race and grind of today, and lose myself in the retro sun once more. As you can see, I have a lot of games from Arcade 1-Up and even a Neo Geo cabinet. I have less than some and more than others. But this is my place where the sun will not set on the 80s. Movies, posters, arcade games, and as much retro candy and drinks as possible. Yes, I even have Yahoos, Cactus Coolers, and Code Red Mountain Dew. But my favorite cabinet has to be TRON right now because it harkens back to when I was a kid, running over to my spoiled friend's house who had a TRON cabinet right in his basement. We would spend hours playing that game, never get that far, but we tried, and now I have my own little Flynn's arcade where I can retreat to. Anyone is welcome to play. In fact, I love it when people enjoy it as much as I do. And I'm sure most of you are familiar with the originality of the game, but it bears repeating. Let me just say that it was definitely rushed. There were 2 teams that were vying to create the game in time for a release with the movie. There was a team that focused specifically on a vector graphics version of the game. And then there was one that used Bally Midway's current technology to create 5 minigames. Because they couldn't pull off the vector graphics with the likes of Star Wars and Star Trek, as well as Battlezone. According to an interview with Kotaku, Jeff Bridges became particularly hooked on a tank-based arcade title called Battlezone. When he started to play the arcade games, Jeff Bridges was surprisingly good at them and sometimes struggled to pull himself away from the next scene. I couldn't believe it. We showed up the first day at work. Around the walls of the studio are video games that you have to put quarters in just all over, he says. I remember I got locked into this game, Battlezone. The tanks, God, hours, and they would come and try and yank me away. I'd say, I'm preparing. So Bally Midway decides to go the current technology route of the 5 minigames. But one of the actual games, that of Discs of TRON, was scratched because they simply didn't have enough time. It's interesting because this game probably looked the coolest with its enclosed cockpit design and surround sound, but it sold the least because of the arcade crash of '83. Now, TRON was met with incredible attention and actually landed the coin-operated Game of the Year from Electronic Games magazine. They sold about 800 cabinets in '82. Now, compare this with the 22,000 plus of Dig Dug, and you can see that this game wasn't as widespread actually. But critics found it superior at the time to the likes of Dig Dug or Popeye and other '82 classics, and so they awarded this one the coin-operated Game of the Year. Of course, if you look at the replayability of TRON, you see that they sold some 10,000 plus cabinets by 1983, which is insane for that year. It was the number 4 ranked game on replay charts and made about $45 million in revenue by that time. TRON consists of 4 sub-games based on events and characters in the movie, as you guys know. In general, you control TRON, either TRON as a human or TRON as piloting a vehicle, using this amazing light stick with a trigger button on the stick to fire and a rotary dial for aiming. The goal of the game is to get through 12 sub-levels, kind of levels, I guess, completing in the game. Most of the 12 levels are named after programming languages, which is pretty neat. And at the start of each level, the player is taken to a game grid. And it's a selection screen divided into 4 quadrants. The first one that you can go to, actually you don't really know where you're going, it's kind of random. The first one you go to is called the I/O Tower. So the player there must guide Tron to the flashing circle of an input-output tower within a set time limit, avoiding these amazing grid bugs that are sometimes super annoying, especially when you have them all over the screen. The next one is an MCP cone, where the player has to go break through a rotating shield wall protecting the MCP cone and enter the cone without touching any of the shield blocks. The game is based on Tron's final battle with the MCP in the film, but changes the nature of the NPC's shield. The next one is Light Cycles, which is perhaps my favorite, and you play basically against AIs, which is a variation of the Snake game concept. And you guide Tron's blue light cycle in an arena against one or more yellow opponents. It's really amazing, and it seems pretty incredible when you use it. The last one is the battle tanks, which to me can be very frustrating unless you know exactly where to go. Here the player must guide Tron's red battle tank through a maze and destroy all of the opposing blue enemy tanks by shooting each of them 3 times. Now, your tank can warp to a random location in the maze by moving into the diamond in the center, and its shots bounce off walls and obstructions until reaching our maximum travel distance. In higher difficulty levels, of course, the enemy tanks are replaced by these red recognizers that are much faster and attempt to collide with the player instead of shooting him, and that's a little bit easier to me. Hey guys, thanks so much for joining me down memory lane. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe. Don't forget to do that. It helps us out a lot. I know it's real simple to do. But one of the things that I loved about Tron, the Tron cabinet, as I mentioned previously in the video, was I was able to go to my buddy's house in his basement and play. He had a brand new Tron arcade cabinet. It was just gorgeous in the 80s. And we would play that all the time. I think it was around 86, 87, 88. And I would go over there, and sometimes he wouldn't even be over there, and I just want to go play. And it just kind of harkens back to this time when things were a lot simpler. And that's kind of why I'm doing these videos of Outrunning the Neon Sun. So if you like this, like I said, please like and subscribe. We're going to be putting out more of these videos, and we're also going to be putting out more podcasts. We transferred all of our stuff from all the podcast mediums, and we transferred it all to YouTube, and we're going to be making some more there. And it's not just going to be audio, it's going to be a lot of video stuff, a lot of integration, going through commercials, 80s commercials, tons of stuff like that. So please join us. And again, thanks for joining me in Outrunning the Neon Sun. I'll put some more of these videos out, and hopefully you enjoyed them. With that, take care, and God bless.